Surprise, surprise, folks. The Knucklehead crew is back officially. I guess it's official because we're doing a show 2 weeks in a row on time and talking about the NFL playoffs. So I guess we're back in the swing of things. Um, I will have to say that pretty much everything I predicted last week happened the exact opposite. So I need to try and make up for it because man, was I wrong about pretty much everything that happened last week. So I've done some more research. I'm trying to make a comeback here, and how'd your predictions go last week there, Blaine?
3 out of 4. I humbly say 3 out of 4. I don't. The game that I got wrong was the Colts. I thought the Colts would show up, and no.
All three of us got that one wrong. How about you, Coach? Besides, you got the Colts wrong too, just like we did. What about the other ones? Did you pretty good this week?
No, I went 50-50 on that one. I mean, I kind of took Chargers to think that they would do something in Foxborough, and it was their time, but they couldn't pull it off. They didn't even come to play. That was probably the worst performance by a Chargers team all season, and they demonstrated that, and it just didn't work out. So I got the other two right, but yep, I expected the Colts to also come out and play as well. So put it this way, it was a home field advantage for everybody when you look at it.
And not only did I get the teams and how they would win wrong, when you're playing FanDuel or DraftKings, you kind of try to write a script in your head about, they're going to have to pass a lot, they're going to have to do this or that, and that's kind of how you construct your betting and your teams on those sites. And like every script I wrote was like the exact opposite happened. I mean, I just got crushed. It was my worst weekend in NFL for the entire season. It was tough. It was tough. So this week we're going to try and turn it around. Um, we're going to start with you, Coach, since you mentioned that how surprised you were. You think the Chargers didn't show up. I was kind of surprised by how well the Pats came to play, especially on defense. And I think both of you talked about how the Colts, just didn't really come to play. I was actually really surprised with the Chiefs D and how they played at Arrowhead. It's going to be another cold game in Arrowhead, two teams that are used to playing outdoors in the cold. So why don't we start off with you, Coach? What do you see happening in that New England KC game?
Well, again, Kansas City showed that in that weather they can play, they can do a lot of things. They move the ball really, really well on offense. I mean, with the tight end, and that's going to be one thing that they're going to have to, I guarantee Belichick's looking at is how did they move the ball? Well, it went to Kelsey out there, that's for sure, on so many plays. The run game was also happened for them too, where, they exploded through the hole and everything was happening. But defensively, you could see the pressure coming that was put onto Andrew Luck out there. And that probably one of the best O-line of the season in the Colts couldn't handle it. So I think on that side of the ball, Belichick's going to be looking at this saying, we got to protect Brady a lot more. What are we going to do? So does that mean Gronk's going to stay in a little bit more? Are they going to bring in the fullback to also do more blocking to create some openings? Because you know that the Patriots wide receivers are going to get open to a certain degree. All right, there's no question about that. It's just how much time is Brady going to have to pick them apart? And that's what it comes down to. So if KC can play the same way that they did against the Colts like that, I think I will say this. I believe New England is going to have a little bit of a difficult time with this one, especially if this weather is going to be as frigid out there as it has been.
Blaine, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that I was looking at the record of the Patriots away. They're not going to be playing in Foxborough this week.
They suck away.
Yeah, they lost 5 games away from home this season.
And who did they lose to? That's the other thing too. Who did New England lose to?
They lost to Pittsburgh, Miami. They lost to Tennessee.
Yeah, but that Miami play was just ridiculous.
They lost to Detroit and they lost to Jacksonville early on.
And Detroit's a big one too. I mean, to lose to Detroit like that at Detroit, I mean, that's a big one.
Here's what
there's
Go ahead.
something to be said about. Sorry, I'll get it right back to you, Blaine.
No,
But
it's fine.
there's some weird stat with ex Belichick assistants when they get a chance to go at Belichick, even when they're coaching the Jets or some other bad teams, he's got a really bad record against his old assistants. Sorry about that, Blaine.
Because
Go
they
ahead.
know him. They know him better than anybody else. But
Yep.
here's what I picked. I picked the Patriots to beat the Chargers last week because I said that that there's a lot to be said about that bye week. Same with Kansas City last week. They had time to study both teams, and they were ready for either team to come out. And there's a lot to be said about that bye week. That being said, I'm going to tell you that I look at New England to actually take a step back. I think this is a game where they're going to miss Josh Gordon. He would really be a contributor in this game because I think it's going to be a close game. Those Kansas City edge rushers are going to be all over Brady. Now, the way that Brady combats that is quick passes to Sony, quick passes to Edelman. That might open up something for Hogan, down the way. But it's going to be a rough time for Brady. And I think that the speed of and deep threat of Josh Gordon and the Kansas City defense having to defend that would make a big difference in this game. I don't think Gronk is going to look very good in this game. Between the two tight ends, I think Kelsey's going to reign again. I think you have to, as far as the defense for the Patriots, they have to defend not only Mahomes, but they have to also defend Damian. What's his name? The running back for the Chiefs.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams. Damian Williams. I think that's going to play big because
that's another fun thing I did. I played a bunch of tournaments on FanDuel, and I didn't realize there's 2 D Williams on the team, and I picked the wrong one for half my lineups.
Oh, Darrell Williams.
Yeah, so stupid.
Yeah, Damian Williams has not replaced the productivity of Kareem Hunt, but he's replaced him as far as having to defend a running back that can actually be productive. And if Spencer Ware comes back, that's another bullet in the arsenal.
Spencer Ware's been a healthy coach's decision not to dress for the last few games. And I think that Williams kind of made the decision to get rid of Hunt a little bit easier. Here's what I'm going to say about that game. Here's a stat that I heard from one of the Talking Head shows. I don't remember, like one of the ESPN FS1 shows. Is I think it's been like 3 years or 4 years since the Chiefs, even the bad Chiefs defense that played 8 times at home this year, has not given up over 30 points at home in I think 3 or 4 years. And they've had some bad defenses. So I think that says something. That's same with this year. They still haven't done it. And I think it says something to what they, can do. I'm going to try again and see if I can't mess this up too bad. I think the Chiefs are going to do Chiefs things. I'm not sure. I think that they're going to try and take away Kelsey and play some cover 3 and some cloud coverage to try and hope that Tyreek doesn't beat him deep. I think on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to be a heavy run team and screen team and try and keep Mahomes off. And I just see the youth of Mahomes and the curse of Andy Reid coming back and just learning again, don't bet against Brady. Till he retires, just don't bet against Brady and Belichick. And I think that, they taught me good last week, and I think that they're going to be fine. Being outside in the cold isn't going to affect them. They have no problem with the cold weather. It'll be a low-scoring game. I think they're going to show Mahomes some things that he hasn't seen before. And I'm just tired of betting against Belichick and Brady over the last 15 years. It has bitten me in the ass so many times that I'm just going to rock with them. And I think that Andy Reid and the youth of Mahomes and some of the vulnerabilities in that defense are going to come through. And I think that the gosh darn Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl.
I wanna put one thing out there for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
That first game between the Chiefs and the Patriots was a very close game, right? In
Shootout
Foxborough.
in Foxborough. Yeah.
That's with Mahomes throwing 2 interceptions. I think Mahomes is going to learn from that. I really don't think the Patriots have. It's going to be trickery, folks. It's going to be trickery on both sides. You're going to have the deceptive gestures by Mahomes, where he fakes it to one running back and gives it to the other, on a run, or you're going to, Belichick has something up his sleeve as far as, some sort of trick play. He does it at this time every year. So I expect the trickery, but I think that Mahomes is ready for this. I think he's going to shine in this. It's going to be a close game, but I'm picking the Patriots by less than a touchdown.
Yeah, to me, it basically comes down to
I'm sorry, I'm picking the Chiefs. Chiefs.
Yeah, I know what you were trying to say, but I think it really comes down to this. Who do I think is going to get their team ready to play and be ready to execute and have a game plan to fight all those tricks and all the things that you're going to see, and it's going to be able to get their guys ready to play and play disciplined ball and have a good game plan and execute it correctly. And I just can't go against Brady and Belichick.
I get it.
So, Coach Shane, why don't we go to the other game? On paper, this should be a shootout, and this new NFL that people are saying, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? The top 4 offenses, number 1 through 4 in the league, are the 4 teams that are left. What do you see happening in the Superdome with the Rams? I know you were high on the Rams last week, and you were right. I really took a L on the thinking that Zeke was going to run all over him. So what do you see going on in the Superdome this week?
Well, I think the Rams definitely showed that they got a 1-2 punch in the run game between Gurley and Anderson. I mean, that was a very, very good move by them to pick up Anderson, who's, rejuvenated himself out there to be that workhorse and do so many things. And I mean, I think that caught everybody off guard, and it helped that offense move the ball in so many different ways. So really, you look at it and say, okay, now you've got to deal with not just one running back, but 2. And you've still got the threats of your receivers and everybody like that as well, too. So I really see this, like you said, it's going to be it depends how they come in with the balance set. How are they going to come offensively to balance out the run and the pass and make it where that Saints defense doesn't know what's going to be happening. And like I said, it's going to be a lot of strategic on both of these coaches. Offensively for the Saints, they are a good team as well, but they got off to a real slow start. And I think if the Rams can catch them real fast, that's going to be something that they don't want to do. They don't want to play catch-up ball. They don't want to have to try to struggle to come back. And I know a lot of people have been talking this week saying, hey, you know what? If the Rams get up 7, 10, 14 points, the Saints are going to be looking going, hey, we're in a little bit of trouble here, because you do not want to get to that position where you have to keep trying to battle back like that. You want to make sure that you're at least ahead or within a 3-point and keep it within that closeness.
Shane? I'm sorry, Blaine? The other Ain?
He's on mute. Mute, Blaine, mute.
Mic on. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm rusty. No, I'm going to go with I think that we're going back to talking about that bye week. Now, there's 2 ways you come out of the bye. You can come out sharp and ready to go, or you can come out flat, and that's exactly what happened to the Saints last week. They came out flat. They got 14 down, but I never doubted them, and they came back and they did win the game. Lots of injuries in that game too. That might affect this game, but moving forward, I like this. I like the Saints defense. I like the Saints in the dome. The Rams defense finally shows up, but can they, just like Kansas City showed up last week? I want to see it for more than 1 week in a row and not coming off of a bye. not coming off of rest. So I don't believe that the Rams defense is going to be on the same par as the Saints defense. When it comes down to in this game, to me, is the quarterbacks. If the Saints defense, which I believe they can, stops the two-headed attack, running attack of C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley, not in that order, and if they can restrain those two, then they force Goff to beat them. And I don't think Goff can beat them as opposed to Drew Brees and that other X factor, Taysom Hill. I like the way they use Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill is going to be a factor in this game. And I don't think the Rams can defend that. I don't see them effectively defending that and canceling that out. So you got and let's not forget the running attack, the two-headed running attack of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. So like I said, I think the defense is going to be the factor in this, and whether or not it comes down to the quarterback positions. But I'm taking Drew Brees and the Saints to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with you. Saints have the number 2 rushing defense in the NFL all year long. I do agree with Coach Shane that was a master move to get C.J. Anderson, as Gurley was kind of hurt towards the end of the season, to give him a break and keep him fresh. And he turned out to be an unbelievable surprise. So kudos to the front office of the Rams. I think that Ndamukong Suh was the biggest hype, overpriced. I mean, he's not necessarily a flop because, he plays, but for what he gets paid and what he's done and all the hype that he got, I think that was kind of a waste. I think they could have got some other guys. I don't think you're going to see them bringing him back. And that's why, you look at it blow for blow, that number 2 rushing defense from the Saints versus those 2 stellar running backs, or the number 26 rushing defense of the Rams versus those 2 stellar running backs. I think that the Saints have that. I think that the Saints have a better secondary because even with Talib back, which is a big deal, we talked about it a bunch of times. I've always been down on Peters. Peters takes too many chances. He gets burned deep. He has too many other problems. And Drew Brees is just Drew Brees. And something else that we kind of touched on, and we talked about it off screen, is just how important it really is. People say, oh, well, they lost the first 2 games, beginning of the season, don't worry about it. Home field gives your defense an extra step because of the noise. I mean, I know Seattle, I'm pretty much set, even as big of a homer as I am, that if they don't get home field, they're not going to another Super Bowl. Even if they get better next year and all those guys grow up, they're not gonna have it. And you get Drew Brees on the outside, outdoors, on grass, his numbers drop dramatically. If the Rams could have pulled off a couple of games and had that game played in the Coliseum, I think they'd have a much better chance. But because it is going to be in the Dome, and of all the things that I just mentioned, I'm going with the Saints.
Well, you look at the Rams' record. They lost 3 games. 2 of the 3 have been on the road, and 1 of those losses was to New England at the Dome. They lost by 10 points, 45-35. And I just think that the Rams are more vulnerable. If it was being played in Los Angeles, I'd be a little bit more indecisive about this game. I'm just feeling like we've seen New Orleans come back in that Dome, like last week, down 14 points, down 2 scores. They come back. And like I said, I just had a feeling about that. Okay, they're slowly starting, and they're going to ramp it up, and they're going to take this game. And I just don't see the Rams. I don't think the Rams are there. Rams have weapons at receiver. Josh Reynolds, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. But I think when Cooper Kupp went down, it really took a bite out of that offense.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the home field thing, the only reason I'm giving the Chiefs even a puncher's chance is because it's an Arrowhead.
Yeah.
If that game would have been in New England, I don't think there'd be any way, because the Chiefs went to Arrowhead once and lost, went to Seattle and lost. Who was the other one? They went to the Rams and lost. They haven't played good in big games on the road. The only reason I'm giving them even a puncher's chance is because of the fact that they're playing at Arrowhead, which is one of the most difficult places to play. But they happen to be playing against a coach and a quarterback who just have ice in their veins. And I've shown it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm sticking with. Any last comments or things you're looking for on these two games, Coach?
Well, like I said, is when it gets down to the nitty gritty of both these teams. If we look at the Kansas City game again, real quick, it's going to be ball control. If Brady's got that ball for too long of a period of time, Patriots are going to do a lot of damage. I mean, that's going to be a real thing that they got to be careful of when it comes to ball control. And if you look over at the Saints and the Rams game too, if the Saints get too far behind for whatever reason and they got to play catch up, it's going to be really tough for them, I think. I think that defense is coming out strong as well. Again, the Rams defense, I mean, they played a real tough game. They played tough up the middle, and they had the pressure on the outside coming at you all night as well, too. But those defensive backs were fast out there, too. They didn't give up. They did everything that they had to do. So, like I said, I think with Saints, they can't be as slow as they were from the start to make this a game. And when it gets down to it, I do expect it's probably going to be a little bit of a high-flying one as well, too. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and they've showed before that they have the ability to go toe-for-toe. I mean, probably the most exciting, college-type atmosphere, heavyweights in the 70s and 80s type of punching back and forth football game I've seen in a long time was that Monday night game with the Chiefs and the Rams. I mean, that was just back and forth and back and forth. So they've shown pretty obviously that they have no problem if it gets into one of those kind of games. Question I have is, can you do that in the dome against Drew Brees? I think that's a little bit more. And I'll tell you what else, under the radar mid-season trade that a lot of people don't talk about, but that completely changed around their season, was talking to Eli Apple, saying, you know what, we know you've been like a headache in New York and no one wants to work with you. We're willing to take you on. Can you use this as a second chance? Not have the distractions, not have the blow-ups, and just focus on football and be our second corner. And you can see the difference in numbers from when they got Eli Apple to go across from Lattimore. Now you got Apple and Lattimore. That defense, that pass defense, I mean, the numbers in comparison are drastic. And I think a lot of people don't talk about what a difference he really made on that team.
Yeah, it's nice. New surroundings does make for
sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, and in this case, it worked. Some people just need a second chance.
You look at Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and in this case, maybe it was just that that whole locker room was toxic. The guy lost control of the team, and maybe when he got actually cut from a team, which if you're a star like that, you're a first-round pick. Probably since you were 5 years old, no one's ever cut you from a team.
Yeah.
And then no one wanted to pick him up. He didn't get traded. He got cut, and no one wanted to pick him up. And maybe that was a little bit of a, hey, if I don't
chip
change,
on your shoulder.
If I don't change this next time I get cut, that might be pretty much it.
Well, for a champion competitor, it puts a chip on your shoulder, and you're motivated. Now, you might have been comfortable, like you were saying, because you've never had to face that, but
how many other guys just can never get it together?
Well, a lot of guys don't have it.
Continue to screw up.
Some guys don't have it. They don't.
Yeah. So props to the Saints. Props to the coaching staff creating an atmosphere where that works, and then respect to Eli Apple for getting his ish together and making it happen.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate that. It really depends on, like I said, with these two defenses. The Chiefs defense didn't really showed up this past week. The Rams defense really showed up this past week. Neither one of those defenses have looked that strong. So it really depends on if they can do it a second week in a row as to how these games are going to turn out.
I can't wait to see these two games. These are two of the more exciting championship games we've had in a while. I'm excited.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, Coach, you just to reiterate, you're going with the Saints and the Pats.
Yeah, actually, I'm taking the Pats and I'm taking the Rams.
Okay, Rams and the Pats,
Yep.
and Blaine, you're taking the Chiefs and the Saints. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Well, I'm taking the experience. I'm going with Breeze and Brady. So we'll see how it goes. But we're looking forward to it. Well, this is a quick show. It's only with only 2 games. I think next week we'll have a good chance to kind of look at some stuff. Next week we're going to dive into some of the coaching carousel and a little bit of that more in depth, and we'll save our Super Bowl preview for the week of the Super Bowl. But I think more than anything, not even just as someone who works in this or someone who wants to analyze and see what happens. I'm going to be doing my betting, playing my stuff. But at a certain point, I'm just be able to turn all that off and look at this as a fan because I think these are going to be great, great games.
Wait a minute, no Pro Bowl coverage?
Oh yeah, but that's right. It is the week before, huh? I'll tell you what we will do. We will.
I kid.
I know you kid. We're definitely not going to break down for the Pro Bowl, but I would like to talk a little bit about that process, about how some people get screwed on that. I think that would be something we're talking about next week. But
Yeah.
As far as this week's concerned, I think we can just cut this one short. Is there anything you wanna get out there, Coach Shane, that the people need to know about?
No, you know what? Like I said, I think right now though, I heard that a couple of guys that have been injured and things like that have been practicing. So I mean, you got to keep a lookout for that when it gets closer and closer to the games. See who might be in there in the mix too to make some things happen. So like you said, guys that will be on the DraftKings betting and doing certain things like this. There are other options that you might want to look at too. I think though it's going to be interesting to figure out who's going to have another bit of a breakout game out there, because for some of these guys that are picking players as part of their drafts and etc. You got to look at, like you said, I mean, CJ Anderson, he pulled it off for the Rams. You know what I mean? So when people are taking these bets and doing everything like that, you got to start looking at some of these other guys like there. And I was quite impressed with how he performed. So I'm expecting this type of same behavior out of all these guys out there too. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to play hard. And there's a lot to choose from. So it's going to be exciting. But I'd be looking more at the injury reports lately to see exactly who's coming in and who's doing some stuff, because I heard Eric Berry's been practicing again today too. So that might put him in the mix on the defensive side for the Chiefs.
I'm going to go over that real quick before we get off here. I'm going to go over the injury report. Sheldon Rankin, that's something we didn't talk about. He's been put on IR. He is one of the Saints' best run defenders. He's one of the communicators. He's one of the anchors on the inside. That could end up really biting him going against this Rams running game. The rest of the guys, Kirkwood, Watson, Unger, Pete, they're all questionable, but that usually at this time of year just means that they took a rest day on a Wednesday. It usually doesn't mean that much. Kansas City doesn't have anyone. They have Ware as questionable, but that's also because he's not really part of the game plan for the team. So I wouldn't look into that too much. And I'm guessing New England probably has everybody under the sun. They don't have anyone on their injury report, or ESPN left it off. So that is something. Thanks for bringing that up, because I think that the Saints are dealing with some injuries, and that's something that we need to look at. But everyone else seems to be pretty healthy.
Yeah, Rankin's tore his Achilles.
Ah,
yeah.
Poor guy. And then I don't even see Barry on the injury report. So that must mean he's practicing in full.
No, I think you know what? I think he was limited in practice, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, as of January 16th today, he is not on the injury report.
Right. He's set to play on Sunday, from what I understand.
Well, that'd be huge if he could play even half as good as he normally is. He'd be a step up for that team, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now. This is according to Roto World that he missed the divisional round, and looks like he's set to come back on Sunday.